Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, I hope you're doing well, wherever you are. This is Keta Revolutionary for another session. I will be brief. It's hot outside. I've just been doing my little walk and jog, like regarding Gachagua. But anyway, guys, I hope you're doing well. I hope I'm clear here. Let me move where the shadow you can see my face. As usual, I always show my face before, so you can see what I'm talking about. Anyway, let me move around. Let me move around to a more like quieter place. But anyway, guys, karibuni sana, karibu sana. Karibu Critical Power. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, and comrades, this is Kenya Revolutionary. I'm about to bring you another short, quick session where I will talk about the new pronouncements, latest pronouncements by none other than the former Deputy President of Kenya, who was impeached illegally, unconstitutionally, and is currently in somewhere in the U.S. I don't know where he is. He was in Seattle, Washington, then moved to San Francisco, California. That's the last time I saw him. And you never know where he is. But anyway, I will be addressing his statement when he said that he asked the Gen Z that Gen Z should halt the protests, the current protests that are happening in Kenya. If you have been living under the rock, Kenya has been rocked with several protests, by the Gen Zs who have been demanding for better governance, less corruption, the stopping abductions, stopping extrajudicial killings. And basically, they are asking for this regime that is led by William Samoei Ruto, this dictator, to step down because he has shown and exhibited signs of incompetence and total disregard for law and human rights. So basically, the people of Kenya, majority of Kenyans are really fed up with Ruto and they want him out. Not only that, of course, this fight is being frontlined by the Gen Z, who are the young folks who are actually the ones on the front lines in this protest that have been going on in Kenya. Now, just to give you a quick background, Deputy President Gachagua, I've been saying this guy is a sellout. He's just nothing but a talk. Gachagua, his MO. All he talks about is tribe, Murima. Like I said, I explained in my last video how William Samoei Ruto and Gachagua are both working hand in hand to actually create this crisis that is going to be ethnic-based crisis, ethnic conflict, ethnic tension, which will eventually culminate into ethnic violence that shall occur probably before elections or after elections or during elections. But nevertheless, it seems inevitable that this is what we are going to face. Then once the country kind of descends into a civil, what seemingly will become or appear to be civil war, that's when these political elites will sit down and tell us, hey, listen, maybe we should consider Raila's intergenerational conclave bullshit that he was proposing to the Kenyan people. Then they shall sit down and create, amend the constitution. Like I explained, these guys know that the people do not want any amendment to the constitution. But in order to do that, they have to create the crisis. How are they going to create crisis? They'll create a crisis by using this protest, kind of usurping the leadership, not the leadership, but the general ethos, to personalize it, personify it by creating this leader or so-called the strings, the person behind the strings that's pulling the strings. That's the image, that's the impression they want to put forth there, that Gachagua is actually the person behind these Gen Zs and that he can control them. He can tell them, hey, you need to stop, or he can continue the protest. So anyway, I will explain to you why Gachagua is making these statements. In my view, of course, that's my view. And of course, I can be wrong or right. I'm just going to offer my view. Then, you can always share your view on the comment section. Before I get started, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, let's get through the formalities, all right? If this is your first time in this channel, my name is Kenya Revolutionary. That's the name of the channel. 2, I talk about Kenyan politics and world politics as it relates to Kenya, okay? So if you like that stuff, please join in by subscribing, share, comment, and do all the good stuff. And put your notification button on, that notification bell. Put it on so every time I come in, you can always come in and chime in. And you can ask for the link. I'll put the link here so you can join the studio and have a discussion with me on what you think your view is on what's going on, okay? And if you're already subscribed and you're, ardent follower of the channel, you know the first order of business, like the video, okay? Subscribe, share, like, do all the good stuff. Notification bell on as usual. Now that we've done the formalities, let's get to the nitty-gritty, the actual matter, okay? So Gachagua is kind of catching a backlash for his statements yesterday. Somewhere he was giving a speech. I don't know where it was. I don't know where this guy is. I can't keep up. These guys are not posting their itinerary. They are not telling people where they are. And if you notice, when I say these guys, I'm referring to Gachagua and Martha Karua. As you know, Martha Karua and Gachagua are in the U.S. They are in the U.S. currently. And they are not actually posting their itinerary. Nobody knows. But interestingly enough, they have attended 2, basically a Kikuyu meeting or concert, okay? One was the first meeting that they were, having in Seattle. You could tell that was like a hotel conference room or a hall, Usually these huge hotels, whether it's Hilton or whatever the case is, Holiday Inn, name it, they usually have conference room or a hall where if big corporations want to have a huge meeting of 20 or 30 people plus, they can always afford them that. So it seemed like it was somewhere in a hotel, okay, where Martha Karua and Gachagua, gave their little speech and they floored some questions. And like I said, majority of the people there seemingly were from Kikuyu. It was like a Kikuyu gathering, okay? I told you in my first video that the most places, towns, states that are, the populated by Kikuyus in the U.S. is Boston, Massachusetts, California, and Seattle, Washington, okay? Those are places that are known for Kikuyu population are huge there. Of course, there are also other tribes, like I mentioned. Minnesota is known to have a lot of Kisi. New Jersey is known to have a lot of Luos. Austin, Texas is known for Luos, and so forth, so forth. Somalis are known to be in Minnesota. I'm not about to go up through this, okay? But because that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. No, I saw your Kiwanja. I saw it. It wasn't a Kiwanja. It was someone's backyard. I saw it. The camera angle was, listen, the camera angle that was ile uwanja ulikuwa nafikiri ni uwanja. It's not a uwanja. It's actually a backyard. Because if you look at the camera angle, you could see it's not as many people as you think. There were a number of people, okay, but not as many as it. But regardless, it was a Kikuyu gathering. That's the point I'm trying to make. It wasn't Kenyans of diverse, it wasn't diverse ethnic background. That's what I'm trying to say. That's the point I'm trying to make here. That's why I'm saying these were safe zones for Gachagua and Martha Karua. They never really faced real questioning. People didn't question them about their rhetoric, what they're standing for. Why are they running for president? Why do they think, they are best suited to become president if they're going to be presidential candidates? So no, these guys were not in a wanja, whatever the case is. But anyway, so Gachagua came out and said, Karibu sana Gypsy Kona, I can see you. You know the drill. Gachagua is just concerned as any other person, but he'll be misquoted if they decide to quit Maandamano. Gachagua is not concerned. Gachagua is only concerned about power and himself. Gachagua does not care about Kikuyus per se. Let me tell you that. Gachagua is just like, he's in the same category as Ruto and Raila and Uhuru. Do not be fooled. I will not be fooled. I'm not buying for a minute his nonsense. I mean, what has Gachagua? What is Gachagua? Like I said yesterday, I posed this question: what does Gachagua stand for, really? What does this guy stand for? What is beyond just one term and Wamunyo? I mean, one term and hi cousins and telling us about Ruto's uh, outburst and Ruto's corruption and all this. What does Gachagua stand for? Absolutely nothing. This guy's an empty debe. He's an empty suit. Okay? He's just a noisemaker a demagogue who's trying to earn popularity from his community by spewing this tribal nonsense. He's nothing but he's just as useless as Raila Odinga and Uhuru and Ruto, okay? So I'm not buying this Gachagua thing one moment. And I'm glad people can see that. Because now there's a huge backlash from the people. You can go to the X spaces and the comments. People are realizing that something that I've been saying for months, okay? I've been saying this, and I'm so glad that people are actually catching up. People are seeing what I saw eons ago, okay? Karibu sana WS Banker. So I'm happy people can see through Gachagua's nothing, okay? Gachagua is a hollow person. But anyway, like I said, there's a lot of backlash, especially when he said that Gen Z should now stop the protest. And people are asking, the first question people are asking, okay, Gachagua, who are you to tell the Gen Zs to stop the protest against Ruto or this regime or the political class? Who are you, Gachagua? You're telling the protesters to stop this maandamano as who? Like, wewe ni nani? What qualifies you to speak to these Gen Zs and tell them to stop this maandamano? Wewe ni nani? Who do you think you are? Okay? Are you the one paying for the water and all that, so whatever? Are you organizing this protest? Because if you're not, then you should shut the F up and move on, work on how you can get back on becoming a DP or whatever the case is, because you don't have the moral authority, okay, to lecture anyone, these Gen Zs, to do A, B, or C, okay? So this is what people are saying, and this is why the Gen Zs on X are losing their minds over this, because they're asking, who does Gachagua think he is to tell them to stop going for protest? Okay, this protest, they did not go out there on June 25th, 2004, June 25th, 2005, because Gachagua told them to go out there. Okay, they went there because they are protesting against Ruto. I told you guys, even the term one term basically suggests that Ruto should finish his term. Watu wampatie mpaka ninio. Mpaka, I'll give you the link in a few minutes. Let me get my sheet off first. One term, like that's what I'm telling you. I never bought into this one term and all this stuff. These hashtags are misleading, to say the least. All this one term. In fact, I was so excited when I saw some people who have been in this Mandamano protest, this Gen Z, who are saying Gachagua brought his folks in this Mandamano to come scream one term. We were never about one term. We were about Ruto must go, Occupy State House 2025. This guy came out with one term, one this, which is basically trying to program the minds of people to accept that Ruto should actually finish his term. Because by saying one term means that you want Ruto to finish his term. The same thing Sifuna is doing, always pretending to be on the side of people. Okay? So that's why I'm saying we should not entertain Gachagua's nonsense, tribal vitriol. Okay? This guy is a con man, just like Raila Odinga. Okay? And while we're hanging, when we hang the likes of Ruto, Uhuru, Raila Odinga, Moi, Gachagua should also be on the list, along with Martha Karua. They should not get a pass. We are not going to accept this tribal nonsense that they're spewing. I don't care if they come to US or go to Australia or go wherever they are. That's why you see everywhere they go in the US, they make sure the venue that they go to is a Kikuyu event. And not only that, is their supporters. And not only that, they only accept certain questions that come from the audience. They never get asked the real questions that demand real answers of real change. These are a bunch of cowards, conmen and women masquerading as tribal chieftains. Okay? They're behaving as if they're the defenders of Mount Kenya. They do not care about Mount Kenya. We know what Gachagua has done in the past while he was the DO or DC, whatever the case is, when he killed a bunch of Kikuyus in the name of Moi. We know what he did, how he brutalized Matiba's family. So I'm not buying into this con man with this fake beef with Ruto and Raila Odinga. We should not entertain this coward. This guy should be treated with contempt that he deserves. Okay? And he probably came to his puppet master here in the US to take instructions to tell him to, hey, try and end these protests. Use the few protesters that you've been inciting in Mount Kenya region. Please tell them to stand down because this revolution is taking a dangerous turn. We might lose this fight as the political elites. And rumors is he's renegotiating his way back to government. That's why I'm saying do not be surprised if this whole conclave, intergenerational bullshit conclave that Raila Odinga is calling might include these irredeemably corrupt individuals like Martha Karua and Gachagua and Kalonzo Musyoka and the rest of these idiots. Okay? That's what I'm saying. We do not need to entertain these people. I've always asked you guys, how come Gachagua can go months and months spewing the nonsense that he has been spewing, okay? Without any arrest, without any accountability. He has no manifesto. He has a DCP party, which I don't even know what it stands for, okay? And all he talks about is everything that Ruto is doing wrong, which is fine. But at some point, you have to have more than just one term and telling us about Ruto's sexapades or his exploitation of Kenyan people or brutalization of the Kenyan citizens. You have to have more than that. Tell us something new, Gachagua. What's your plan dealing with corruption? What's your plan for Kenya? How are you going to harmonize all these ethnic communities, 42 plus, bring them together? Because you've been championing Mount Kenya for the past 6 months, or whatever the case is, acting as if your tribe is better than the others. So how do you reach out to other tribes to work together in harmony as one nation? I told you yesterday, the remedy to tribalism is patriotism. And that's why it is a perfect opportunity for young people, especially from Mount Kenya, to show the world that they are patriotic. They are not buying and taking in what Gachagua is selling, which is ethnic division. My tribe is better than your tribe. My tribe deserves better than your tribe. Same thing the Kalumas are doing in freaking Nyanza province. The victimization or victim complex, where he's trying to make it seem like Luos have been victimized and they deserve better. Now they're in government. Oh, let's enjoy the spoils of power of government, whatever the case is, riches. Just because you've been handed a few seats by Ruto. And I'm glad there are people who can see this and are speaking valiantly, bravely, brazenly against this. Because we have to have a nation. We have to have a nation. And in order to have a nation, a healthy one at that, we have to not promote this ethnic community or that ethnic community, but promote the idea of a harmonized Kenya. Okay? That is what we should do. And do that unapologetically. So anyway, so there's backlash by the Gen Z from X, okay, who are actually peeling, exposing this charlatan called Gachagua, okay? Because all of a sudden this guy goes to the US and God knows who he meets, because remember, these guys are not just coming here on tour, they're meeting a couple of people, the higher-ups. And when I talk about the higher-ups in the Nino, not in the government, but probably the CIA, to give him instructions on how they can maintain power, because obviously Kenyans are restless, right? I will take a walk, ladies and gentlemen. Give me a few minutes because there's work being done behind me, so there's a little bit of noise. So bear with me. Like the video, ladies and gentlemen. I'll put the link in a few minutes because I know some of you asked for the link, but give me a few minutes as I move to a more Nino. Okay? But like I said, so this is the thing though. This is the thing. I'm so happy that I can see videos of different influencers, young folks, Gen Zs, who are exposing this this fraud. Okay? This fraud that's pretending to be the opposition. Whether it's Maraga, sorry, not Maraga, but Matiangi, whether it's Kalonzo Musyoka. And if you noticed, it's like God is working in a mysterious way. You know, this fake opposition, they go to the US, they take their instructions from the Wazungu, okay? And then they come back, okay, organize a homecoming party, hire a bunch of people who they ferry from the neighboring counties to come attend their homecoming, okay, to give an impression. And the Githeri media prints that, oh, so-and-so is back. He has millions of followers. He's going to take Ruto by a storm. He's going to take, while they're working together with Ruto. That's the game they're playing. You understand? And we're not going to stand for that. Ruto, Raila, Uhuru, Gachagua, your time is up. Martha Karua, your time is up. The days of lying to Kenyans, pretending, is over. The only solution to our problems shall be structural reforms. And the only way we can do that is to first have a total overhaul of the system through a popular people's revolution, taking out Ruto with his whole cabinet, taking out the legislative body as a whole, like we did already. I've often made the point that any law that has been passed since June 25th, 2024 is null and void because the people took the mace from the parliament, which basically was a symbol of people taking power, representing themselves directly. I've mentioned here that the youth need to organize, come together, and don't let them define this Gen Z movement and belittle it, reduce it into a tribal outfit. Don't let them label it like as if it is a Kikuyu uprising. It's not. The Gen Zs consist of Kikuyus, Luos, Luyas, and so forth, all the tribes. Okay, the hotbed of the protest might have been in Central Province because majority of the youth there are subscribing to what Gachagua is saying. He's inciting them, which is fine, but it doesn't negate the fact that they are also fighting for the same thing that the Gen Zs are fighting for. that does not disqualify them just because they come from Central Province. They are part of Kenya. So it is okay for them to protest. It is okay, in my opinion, for them to burn down the police stations that have been brutalizing their youths. The people shall express themselves as they wish. So yes, like I say, these guys are exposed. It's like I say, it is as if God is working in a mysterious way. He's exposing these leaders, whether it's Matiangi, whether it's Gachagua, whether it's Martha Karua, whether it's Raila, whether it's Uhuru, whether it's Ruto, whether it's Eugene Wamalwa. I mean, I just saw on the Standard Digital that printed and said Raila Odinga has lost the influence that he had. I mean, we already knew that. He's pushing for a dialogue. What's there to talk about? And another interesting thing, I saw a clip from Fix the Nation or whatever the case, and they had a Asian guy, Chinese guy, or whatever the case is, the World Bank country representative of the World Bank in Kenya, whatever the case is. And he was explaining why Kenya cannot default on their loans. Okay? Talking about it will cause a lot of economic neneo because Kenya will not be able to borrow from anyone. I mean, he's partly right. But where I differed with him, where I do not agree with him, he was trying to tell the people in the Fix the Nation program that, oh, what Kenya needs to do is to create an environment which is conducive for private investments, both locally and internationally. The other party was right. He said we need structural reforms. Yes, governance, issue of governance, and you know, stuff like that. We should raise more revenue. Okay, it makes sense. But when he said that Kenya should create a new environment for more private investment, that's where I disagree. If anything, private investment should be limited, in my opinion, especially international private investors. If you guys are aware of international investor state disputes settlement courts, it's courts that are, majority of them are in Washington, D.C. So these investors, these private investors that come in and have these BITs, okay, bilateral investor treaties, okay, investment treaties with nations. Let's say Shell company comes to Kenya and strike a deal, a 30-year deal with Kenya to drill oil off the coast of Mombasa. And the proceeds from that, Shell will enjoy it 90% and give the state 10%, which Ruto will basically eat. Okay? So these are deals that if Kenya gets into with Shell, for example, if Kenya was to renege on that deal and try to kick out Shell for whatever reason, whether they find that Shell has been, you know, dumping waste in the, you know, shores of Indian Ocean off Mombasa, okay? If Kenya dares to kick them out from their country, they can take them to these courts, international investor state dispute settlement courts, and Kenya will be forced to pay an exorbitant amount of money to this Shell company because they had a 30-year treaty with them. That's why I'm against this this private investment that comes to Burkina Faso is the new blueprint. Yes, Shell company is definitely CIA. Actually, it's not the other one, not Shell, the other one, the one that is run by Rockefeller, not Shell. Shell is a British company, but it's also, the British, CIA and MI6 is one thing, okay? It's the same thing. MI6, CIA, and the NINEO and Mossad. It's one thing. Not Shell. The other one. What's the other one? ExxonMobil. It's owned by the Rockefellers. If you know the history of Rockefeller, they run everything. They're CIA. Their relationship with the Dallas brothers, the guys that actually started CIA in 1940. Was it 45 or 46? Right after World War II. Okay, so what I'm saying is this: Burkina Faso is the new blueprint. What Ibrahim Traore did was to nationalize everything, not everything, but the majority of things. Okay, the major corporations, the parastatals, were not handed over to the private sector. The same bullshit argument that Ruto always tried to tell us that, oh, the parastatals are not working, they're not really bringing a lot of revenue, so we need to bring the private sector to take over these parastatals so that they can, because the private sector is more efficient. What do you mean? What a stupid argument. The same people, okay, if they have the same qualification and they're not performing, then you should actually do a forensic auditing of what's happening in the parastatals if they're not working. Just because somebody works for the state does not mean they cannot produce. That means the state is either corrupt, is the issue, or they're slacking and they need to be kicked up the ass to actually produce. You don't privatize the whole, these parastatals to give profits to these individuals so that they can throw us some crumbs that we cannot even live off of. But anyway, not to digress, I was just giving an example of how the World Bank has a chokehold on the Kenyan economy since we owe them. And I saw there, they actually said, yes, WS Bank are very good. I agree with you. Yes, shell companies, the term shell means cover. Yes, Shell is a company, the Dallas brothers, who actually came up with the CIA, started the CS. Yes, the one OSS, yes, converted the CSS, handled Shell business and covert operation. Absolutely. Now, when Shell, I think the original Shell was called, was it, okay, sorry. I'm confusing it with BP. It's the same thing, right? I'm engaging this comment right here by WS Banker. BP and Shell, I know they came together, right? British Petroleum and Shell. And this was under the East Indian British Corporation that was very active in not only India, but, right? But they came together. British BP and Shell, I think they have they merged together. So sort of like Monsanto and Bayer, not Bayern Munich, but Bayer. They came together. British Petroleum and Shell, they kind of merged together. If I'm not wrong, somebody tell me. No, they did not. Yes, that's what I thought. So what I was saying is this: the original British Tobacco Company. Was it British? There was a Shell East Indian corporation that from way back that was in India, and also they had a bunch of corporations, and they made their way to Kenya. Actually, Kenya is a corporation. I forgot, what did they call it? East African what? What do they call it? What do they call Kenya? Kenya was part of the East African whatever corporation. I forget about that. Somebody remind me. I need to brush up on my history here. So yes, I do agree with you. Anyway, but if you go listen to that interview by I think his name is Kwam something, he was being interviewed by the Fix the Nation today. I think it was interesting. His take was, he was very adamant. He was very, very stern when he was talking about how Kenya should not default on its debt. Okay. Apparently, Kenya has borrowed 25 billion US dollars since its inception. Kenya's since 1964, I guess. Kenya has received 25 billion US dollars since then, and it seems like we cannot. And again, I mean, if you were to go by just the numbers Jimmy Wanjigi was throwing us, we can pay this money. It's not like we cannot pay it. We just need to streamline and use the money that we produce, because Kenya has money. We have, and we can actually create jobs. Okay, there's no way we can raise. Again, this comes back to this lazy argument by Ruto's administration, where they're talking about sending, I don't know, 1 million young people to go work overseas. I mean, if you're trying to raise revenue so you can pay off these debts, why are you sending these young folks to go to overseas where they're going to pay taxes in this foreign land, while you can just create jobs at home? Okay, because the more, if you invest in the people, you will raise more revenue. Okay, create jobs here at home, and you shall have a bigger, larger workforce at home, and you will collect more taxes without actually raising taxes on the already existing taxpayers tax base that you have. Okay, you see how stupid Ruto is. But again, he's not stupid. He's taken his instructions from the very people that hand him this money: World Bank, IMF, all these globalists that control the banks, the big banks, because that's the agenda. It is to take over the sovereignty of individual nations through banking and policies. Okay? Policies that they have in place. And these policies are implemented through the conditions that they put when you accept this money from World Bank. That's why I do not want to hear anything from Matiang'i, someone who worked for World Bank. What do you expect? Do you really expect him to actually revolutionize the Kenyan economy, given the fact that he worked for the World Bank? He's a stooge. His presidential campaign is being run by a Canadian firm. Okay? Lots of info to track here, but we'll get... Right. I'm just throwing things. The point I'm trying to, the bigger point I'm trying to make by mentioning all these things, I'm just talking about how Kenyan sovereignty is actually in the hands of these international banks and private international investors. Again, I repeat, I'm trying to show you how Kenya's sovereignty is in the hands of these private banks, international investors. And you might be asking, what do you mean we have a constitution? Absolutely we do. But the head of state, okay, the person who heads the state, Ruto, okay, has basically, is basically in the pockets of these international investors and banksters. And he has acted on our behalf without our consent, giving these banksters and investors a free a pass to do whatever they want in Kenya. Okay? That's why I told you, for example, like now that Hassan Joho is the minister of, I don't know, blue, whatever, and whatever, mining and all this stuff, okay? And we've had reports of how the mining by the foreign governments, namely probably the British. That's why we have is it Baku, whatever the case, these British soldiers that are pretending to be the British soldiers that are in Kenya, in Laikipia, okay, who are pretending to be having this training drills with Kenyan army, whatever the case is in Kenya, okay? They're not there to actually do anything. They are there to secure the mining that is taking place in Laikipia. I mean, go listen to people who live in Laikipia. They've been complaining that they can't even access some parts of Laikipia. You know, they can't access some parts of Laikipia. Why? Because there's a lot of mining that's taking place. People are reporting that, you know, there are aeroplanes. There's even inaitwaje, runways, where every night unasikia ndege imetoka with different, you know, mines in as mzigo. No. In my opinion, we don't need to default. What we can do is what Jimmy Wanjigi was saying. Just to respond to Joseph Karaoke's Ninio here, and I'll bring you in a few minutes, the few minutes that I have. I'll say this, we don't need to default. What we can do, again, is in our constitution. Our constitution has all the answers. That's why I get mad when people talk about, we need a new constitution, we need to sit down and talk. What's there to talk about? All the answers in the constitution. Article 226.5. Check it out. Okay? Article 226.5. Any government official, okay, who is found liable for misappropriating public funds needs to pay up, is personally liable to pay that debt. So we can go back from the days of Kibaki, from Moi, you know, Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto. Any money, any deal, any loan that was signed off without the consent of the Kenyan people, they are liable to pay it back off to the IMF and World Bank, not us. So we can write off that debt as what? Odious debt. And our constitution says that. So what we shall do is this, because most of these loans, okay, were not approved by the people. What do I mean not approved by the people? No one came to the parliament, okay, for these loans to be approved, because our representatives are the members of parliament. They are supposed to debate, hold a public participation with the people, and get our views, consider our views before agreeing to these loans. And none of this process took place when these loans were being acquired. Hao walienda tu huko wakaeka sahihi huko Washington DC. And what's amazing, if we were to go by what Jimmy Wanjigi was telling us, even this money, siku za Uhuru Kenyatta, the one they were borrowing during the Uhuru Kenyatta, I think the SGR money, whatever, the loan for SGR, did not even go to the consolidated funds. Ya Kenya. It went to a private bank, someone's private bank. That's how ridiculous the looting that is taking place in Kenya. Understand what I'm saying? So we have no reason to default. Let those people, the Uhuru Kenyatta people, from Uhuru Kenyatta's administration, from Ruto's administration, from Kibaki's administration, let all those officials who misappropriated those funds return that fund, and it is payable back to the World Bank. We do not need to default on this debt. Okay? And like I said, the revenue we collect is enough. Within a few years, we can pay off the rest of the debt for the country. We need to default as it is. Okay? And that's how we can reset this Ninio. And of course, like I said, the number one reason why we are in debt is because of corruption. Simple. And corruption is there because credible source, that means the world these days. Um, and like I said, we have corruption, rampant corruption in Kenya because there's lack of law enforcement. Let me put the link and I'll entertain you I'll not entertain you, but I'll listen to your views for a few minutes before Tumalizane. So I'll post the link in a few minutes. If you're ready, let me know. Anybody who wants to come in and talk and give me your views, whether you are pro Ruto, pro whatever, you tusikie maoni yao yenu. Okay, let me post the where is the link? I can't even find the link. What is going on? All right, let me see here. All right. I'll give a few minutes to anyone who wants to say anything about what we've discussed here. Link yo. Let me drink some water. It's hot as, like I said, just to summarize to what I was saying. The Gen Zs are not happy with the latest statements by the former deputy president Gachagua, telling the Gen Zs to stop or halt the protests. Okay, and Gen Z are saying, "Who are you? Why are you telling us to stop the protests? I mean, you're part of the problem. What gives you the authority to tell us what you're talking about?" Okay, Mabella is here. Karibu. Yes, Karibu. Go ahead, coup d'etat.
Thank you, my brother. I've listened to what you were saying, and you fascinated me with some of the things you started. You know, I was not thinking in that line of thought when you said about all this hulabaloo we are supposed to be witnessing. You know, when you have talked about how they are preparing to be able to divide the government, you know, I have thought about that, and I have seen we are going back to where we were in 2008. Remember 2008 when they shared power sharing.
Yes.
So I've seen it's the same thing they want to do. My line of thought was never going to that, but now I've even started thinking of other things. That's why you can see you asked a very good question. Why have they not been arrested? Because if it is somebody who was as the way you say, is trying to do a coup to your government, I think those people should have been arrested, because that is what happens to a person who is trying to do a coup. We saw what happened to Ochuka. Ochuka was arrested because he was arrested and charged for murder. I think he was killed also for trying to do the coup. So my line of thought never came to that. But also continuing on what you said about these guys that are trying to tell us how we are going to do as a country. I think the World Bank and the IMF, they cannot come and control our country, what we are going to do. They are the ones who have put us in this shit we are in. We cannot continue digging a hole. You know, it's like when you have a hole which is 100 meters, and you are still now trying to dig again more. So what are we digging to find there down? I don't know what we are continuing with this nonsense of saying. You know, these guys, they get happy when they say you are trying to default, because they always say no, we are not going to default. Your country is in a good economic place. You hear them when they say your country is in good books, so you can try to borrow some money so that you can be able to 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 stay afloat. That is what has happened to many countries, brother. If you go and check Pakistan, what is happening in Pakistan? The prime minister who was there, his name is, I think the name of the prime minister was called this guy who was jailed. I'm forgetting his name.
Yeah, I forgot, but he was trying to
I
do
heard he was wearing a watch of more than $2 million. So what you're saying is true. What you're saying that they took it to their personal bank accounts. I am very angry because how can you say you are taking loans for the country to better the country, and it is passing through your personal account, and then you say that you are going to still do the same businesses, when the businesses come, you are the one who is benefiting directly, and Also for this project, we have never been told or what we kept as collateral, because I know when you borrow loans, you should keep something as collateral. Even when you go to a bank right now and you tell them you want a loan, is either they tell you you have something we can leave, maybe you have a logbook or a title deed, you leave with us so that we can be able, in case you say you're going to default your loan, we are going to come for it. So what were we kept as a collateral, and why do they hide these agreements? Why do they hide them? I've never understood. If you did businesses on behalf of Kenyans, because when you become a president, you have not become a god over us. You are just there because we have kept you to represent us. We have not kept you there to become a demagogue on us, and all the officials you have around there. So why will you hide these things from us? I heard Ruto saying also he's going to bring all these deals that were made by the previous government onto light. But I think he also has the same disease that all these people had. I think he has been also in that government too much. He has been from the government of Kibaki, so there is no way we are going to expect a person who is from these governments to come and tell us what happened. I like the school of thought of Jimmy Wanjigi. You know, Jimmy Wanjigi was saying something that also caught my eye, and people never. I don't know why people don't take keen interest in people like this. People who always come to shed light. He was talking about how we have been paying debts. Did you hear we have paid debts of almost? I think he was talking of almost 6-7 trillion in debts, and we are still being told we owe the government. I think we owe those guys out there. We owe them now. I think is 11 trillion. So I don't understand why we have been paying loans and they have not even been telling us that when you pay a loan, you're supposed to be telling us we have paid this loan, we have reached here, but we never see all these things. So for these guys, all of them, even as WS is asking me Jimmy Wanjigi. Jimmy Wanjigi, me, I don't trust him also because he was part of them, but I like it, the way he speaks. You know, when you're not in the cake, in the sharing table, you see, when you're not in the sharing table, you tend to become so educated that you can tell us what has been happening. So even Jimmy Wanjigi was caught up in the shit because he's the one who was a person who unified William Ruto and Uhuru. So for these things, we need to understand, brother. Why are the debts still choking? Because now even we have been told that kids who are there, who are being born now, that they still have debts. When will we ever get out of this shock? That's why I trust in your thought when you say that all these people are the same. There's no difference. All of them, they are the same.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think Jimmy and Jiggy, along with Okiya Mtata, they were talking about auditing the debt, and that is the number one thing I think we need to do. Like I said, I agree with you. Jimmy Wanjigi said he has some interesting ideas, but again, him, given the fact that he has been rubbing shoulders with these very people, kind of disqualifies him. But if we are going to pay this debt, we should sit down and open all the books and see how much was borrowed, where did it go, where was it spent, and trace this money so we can actually know the real debt that we owe. And for those loans that we took that were not approved by the legislative body, by the parliament, okay, which represent us, the people, should be considered odious debt, which those individuals that ambao walikula hiyo pesa warudishe, wao ndio watalipa IMF. Like I said, I quoted article 226.5, imesema hivyo. Hiyo ni law, hiyo ni constitution inasema hivyo. So yes, we should audit our debt, and the only way we can do that, unajua every administration that comes in wanasemanga we shall audit the debt, hii tutalipa, hii nini, tulipe deni, but they use that lippering deni to kuweka taxes juu, we are raising taxes so we can pay this debt very quickly so that we can enjoy life, but they just do it to steal more. So yeah, hao watu wanatuenjoy tu but they are eating this money. So that's why I usually say, hata hii ndio maana nasema hii election tukienda hii election, we're just going to turn from one coin, this side of the coin to the other. The same person is just there. And let me mention something about Maraga, because I know some people are excited about Maraga. And like I said, I personally like Maraga for the decision that he stood up when he was under pressure. But Maraga, let me tell you something. Maraga, after he stood up, the second time when there was a re-election, when he called for a re-election, Maraga was pressured so much, and it was said that he was threatened, his life was threatened. And we remember Justice Mwilu, I think that's her name, one of the chief justice, her bodyguard was shot, okay? Maraga, after pressure mounted, he gave in into accepting. He even went and alienda kwa inauguration ya Uhuru Kenyatta the part 2. And after that I said, Maraga might have a good heart wanting to help Kenya, but if the pressure from the Western governments, akiwekwa pressure na Western government, he will cede to the demands of the wakoloni. That's why I say Maraga, to me, is not going to be the answer. This has to come from the people, somebody who does not care whether he dies or not, but is willing to stand up for Kenyans and say, "Ye country, we have to tuweke Kenya in the right trajectory." That's why when people, and I respect what people say, some people say, okay, tuendeni elections, and we shall make sure elections ifanyike. But I'm saying, if the game is rigged, you're not going to get the results. But a revolution will force whoever is being picked to carry out what the people want, because now the people are going to be on the driver's seat. Wanasema ukiiba, hata wewe tutakutoa vile tulitoa Ruto. Ukifanya hivi tutakutoa tu vile. Hatutangoja ati 4 years ama nini revolution again. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, go ahead if you have anything to add on.
Yeah, I see Gypsy Con saying you give a name. I tell him you said last time you not give names. I was here last time when you said you not give names. You know, the way we could have gone was a very simple way, but people don't like it. If we had thoughtful military and people who think about people, that one could have been an easy answer, because we could have gone the Burkina Faso way a bit. Then we try to get somebody who's is in his right game. You know what they did in Sudan, except for now they are fighting between the army. You know what happened in Sudan is not when they were transferring the powers. It's because this guy held on to power and he refused to return it to the civilians. So if we had somebody who is mindful of our situations as Kenyans, we could have had a government in waiting as we prepare for changing of this regime, because this regime there is no difference, brother. The past regime, this regime, and if we are not careful, the next regime we will bring, it will be all the same. There will be no differences. We will still be crying here, coming again here crying. We thought that the saviors could be there, but you are seeing they are dining all together. You can see all of them, they are dining together. They are called the political elites. I don't know even where that name came from. They are called the political elites. Very stupid people, Very stupid. It's true, very stupid people who like to live in Karen. Do you see any political elite who does not have a house in Karen? All of them, they like to live in Karen. They like to live in those good steamy suburbs. You cannot even find them with people when they are trying to interact with people. That's why for me, brother, I'm caught between a rock and a hard place, because I'm still crying for our country. But I see the demagogues who are there up. They is like they don't want, they want to clean on power. Kuona wale watu wanataka kufanya biashara. Mwanabiashara ukijaribu kumwambia ati utamtoa pahali, biashara yake utaitoa pahali, anaanza mpaka afadhali alete vita. That is the route they want us to go, brother. That's why you see they are saying tutaiba kura. You heard them saying ati tutaiba kura na hakuna kitu tutafanya. And the other one talking about don't even shoot them in the leg, shoot them kabisa wakufe. So when we start hearing some words, you know these guys, it's not that they are caring about their government. They are caring about where they remove the money. You know, this guy we have had is accumulated a lot of wealth within the past, I think, now we'll say is 13 years. He has accumulated a lot of wealth, almost like 3 to 4 trillion. and we say we still have a debt of 12 trillion. So what does that mean? It means they are still rooting in. And to make matters worse, when did it come obvious that our constitution says that a government shall not do business with itself? Why do we see a government? But now, brother, we don't have people to defend us. If you see these members of parliament, because that one is the chain link that has been cut. That one was the one which was supposed to be cushioning us and saving us, brother. If you are given a parliament of the past 2000s, or let's say even 90s, the parliamentarians, could you see them doing this crap that tunachukua pesa and they just pass everything? Is like rubber stamping. They all like rubber stamping everything. They don't debate anything in the book. If somebody even said they could just go there, mtu anaambiwa kabahasha kao kamegojea hapo nje, you just rubber stamp everything. So we have killed everything, brother. We need to arrange the country. That's why you hear there is a guy I always hear saying, we drain all the swamp. This one is all the swamp needs to be drained from parliament, from executive, even some judiciary members. They are still in that dirty swamp. So we need to clean everything, because if we need to change our country, that is. But if we are going to continue in this trajectory, I assure you, hata tutakuwa 12 trillion next time. We are going to be 20.
Okay. I see somebody called Saad. Ako hapa. Saad, what's going on? Karibu. Okay, Saad. Huh? Chali.
We, toa. Wanakuwaga noma. KR, toa. Hao wanakuwaga noma.
Oh, ni wale watu wanakuja kuleta
Ni wale
mambo
watu.
mbaya mbaya.
Brother, I wanted to ask you a question. What did I hear that the NIS are infiltrating the meetings za Gen Z huko X? I heard it's like they're trying to infiltrate
Oh,
every time. I hear that they were trying to tell them how they are going to go for demonstrations. What is that I heard? It's like they're trying to bait them.
oh yeah, wako kila pahali, even hapa hii channel, every channel huwa wanasikia tu wakiona mambo Anyway, Gypsy was asking, should I give us a name? I've answered this again several times. I can't give you a name because it is not the time to choose yet. What I'm saying, the first step is to get everyone who has been in government before, all this who we are referring to as political elites, oligarchy, the corrupt political elites, hawa kina Raila, Ruto, Uhuru, Gachagua, Karua, all of them, they have to be removed. Na hawa wabunge wote tukishawatoa, then we can have adinio, we can choose a name, hata kama ni huyo Maraga ashikilie for 3 months while we are having a transition moment to prepare in preparation of the next election. Okay, so wakishatolewa we can have, hata kama ni nani huyu mama wa Supreme Court anaitwa nani, whatever her name is, I forgot her name, the Supreme Court ninio ashikilie for 3 months, or we can even choose a committee kutoka every province, 8 people who can oversee the state while we prepare for the next election, where and these 3 months tuna make sure tuna choose a new IBC. Wacha hii IBC ambayo imechaguliwa na Ruto na Raila, a new IBC with new ninio who are qualified, who don't have any kind of skeletons in their closet. Alafu tunaenda elections ya kuchagua wabunge wapya, governors wapya, women rep wapya, and all that stuff, unaona. And we make sure that anyone who runs for public office anapita chapter 6 ya constitution. Hatutaki ati mtu alipiga DJ bunduki na anasimama anaenda kwa MP, si ati mtu aliua watu huko sijui Rivayala ati anataka ku run for president. We cannot have that. That is why we keep on finding ourselves where we are. But in reality, what do I see happening in the future? To me, vile naona, let me say something that is very controversial that some people might not be happy with. If the Gen Z doesn't do not succeed in taking out Ruto before 2027, this is what will happen. Ruto will lose the election, okay? And let me tell you something. Whether it's Matiangi, whether it's Gachagua, they will win that election. Because if you look at this, I know they are jokers. They are part of the political elites. But if you look at what they are doing, ukifanya hii tribal miscalculation ama calculation, they actually can win. Okay? As long as it's either hii coalition wako nayo, coalition ni coalition ya ukabila. And they've covered most of the kabila. Natembea will get some of the lawyers. Central definitely will not vote for Ruto. Nani ataleta Matiang'i ataleta wa Kisii. You know, if you do that tribal calculation, alafu compare na ile calculation ya Ruto, because Ruto hata Nyanza he doesn't have that support. Okay, if you do that calculation, he's going to lose the election. So once he loses the election, ulisikia wale wakina Kusudi na ule mama wajiri akisema ati watajaza kama haijatoshea, and they will do so. Watajaza, mtaenda Supreme Court itasema Ruto ameshinda, because after Supreme Court ipe ile gunia ya pesa watasema ameshinda. Then what will happen next? What happened in 2007, 2008? Vita. Okay? Vita itaanza, mtatumiwa sijui nani huko kutoka Amerikani na sijui wakina nani wakuja waongee hapo. Alafu wakina Raila na sijui nani, wa Munyoro, Karua nini, watasema okay. The problem is this constitution. The constitution is giving power to all this, too much power to president. So tukae chini tuangalie vile tunagawa, every community gets a position. Deputy prime minister, prime minister, prime minister. Alafu hiyo vita itasimamishwa. Alafu wakina Musalia, wakina Wamunyoro, Karua watapewa dinio. Watapewa cheo. Then we shall continue. Tutaambiwa, hey, for the sake of peace, tuendeleeni na hii broad, they won't call it broad base, they'll call it conclave. Conclave intergenerational government. Na tutaendelea mwaka ingine na with the same niyo. That's how I see it.
Yes. Let me ask also that question. What are people prepared if Ruto refused to leave? Si watafanya tu hivyo, unasema kaumane, alafu tu wa decide waongee. What else will happen? Sasa kama amekatalia pale.
Yeah.
Well, na unajua akikatalia pale, you know the problem we have, brother. We have a very, you know the military we have. Sijui ni nini, I don't know if it is the military that slept when kama walienda wakalala. Because they are going to shield this man. Watamshield. They'll shield him. They'll not say hapana huyu jamaa maybe. And that's why you see even the appointments that have been done. It's preparing for something. Can you not see the appointments done in the military? Do you know who is the next in line after this Kahariri guy? The next one is the one who was being done army. Who alipewa cheo juzi. He's the next in line. I don't remember his name, but he's the next in line.
Is he a Kalenjin something?
Yeah. He's the next in line. Ni anakuchukulia. So it comes from the Navy, then it goes back to it was in the Air Force, Hariri's Air Force, so it's supposed to go back to the Army, and then it will go to the Navy the next day. Hariri Navy, I think he's Navy, yeah? So Nani was Air Force. Alitago nani, this guy who died. Ogola was Air Force, tukaletewa Navy, sasa tunafaa kurudi Army. So this guy who was put, he's an Army guy from, that's why he knows that the games is playing. So bado watafanya tu hivyo tunaambiwa. So the only thing that can bring a change, it's only the Gen Z. That's why I'm telling you this matrix is disturbing Ruto day and night. Inamsumbua, ndio unasikia mpaka hizi sema watoto wamekufa. Have you ever heard him coming to TV and saying we are sorry that they have disturbed his head? Kwa sababu you know the problem was walikuwa wamechukulia ile mambo ya tutawaletea ukabila kidogo, waanze kunini ukabila. But these guys you know they are funny. When Raila said we are going for a conclave, you know what the Gen Zs did? Walimwambia enda conclave yako, as we are going to educate people on the ground about voting. Or you did not see them with tracks. They are educating people about how they are going to vote the light readers. So these guys don't underestimate. You know, I see people underestimating Gen Z, wanasema ati wapigagi kura. This time it will be a very different affair. And that's why Ruto is confused. Ako confused tu na hiyo kitu. Lakini kama ni ingine ya Wamnyoro, anajua vile ataichapa, brother. Anajua vile ataichapa once. But for Gen Z is confused kwa sababu hajui watachagua nani. You know Gen Z, that's why you hear Gen Z they are saying Wamnyoro asiwaambie ati yeye amewasimamia ama wanamfuata. Because they know what they are doing, brother. These guys, they know even the person they are going to bring 2027. Msidhania hawajui. These guys cannot arrange all these things, eh? Hawezi kuwa amearrange hizi mambo zote. Ati sasa inafika hao kuenda kuchaguana ati ndio hawajui kile wanataka kufanya. Don't joke with these guys. Don't joke with them. They are very young, eh? But they are young and they have the knowledge, and also is like God has kept his wisdom in them. Unajua unaweza pewa knowledge lakini Mungu haja kupatia wisdom. But these young kids, you can see the things that they are doing. They have made our country. People are even looking up to our country. Do you know so how many nations look up to our country? Our nation is being talked all over the world. Because of what? Gen Z. Waliamusha mpaka Gen Z wengine wa US, Gen Z wa Bangladesh, wameamusha majenzi wote, wanaamusha mpaka majenzi wa Nigeria. So how do you think these people are? I think God has kept wisdom in them and has kept the power in them. And I'm telling you the defining factor. Acha hivyo tunashinda tukisema ati akina Wamnyoro hapa na Raila. The defining factor are those young kids. And I'm telling you the person they are going to think of to elect, because they are going to say what sisi tunashia tukingana hapa brother ati Maraga Mtata Matiang'i, sisi tuko hapo brother, ile siku wataamua. You know what happens to our generation, eh? Our generation, I think we went through trauma too much. Tulienda trauma ya Moi tumepitia trauma ya post election, then tukapitishia trauma ya kuambia vile mtapigwa marisasi. So these guys, I think that's why you hear people saying, old people saying, na watu waogopi serikali. You hear them saying that. Hawaogopi serikali yao vijana, they don't fear. Because as we, the generation which was boomers, those ones wanaita boomers, and the millennials, the millennials who are close to the Gen Z, they act the same way. But sisi tuko hiyo mbalimbali kidogo, we always think the same. But I'm assuring you, 2027, the person who is going to determine how Kenya is going to be run from there, it is the Gen Z. Because these kids, let me tell you why they don't have ukabila. I have a brother-in-law who is in university. Do you know their capitation for help has been cut from 22,000 to 17,000? How do you expect that kid is surviving? Umekata ngiri yake 5. Hiyo ngiri 5 ndio anajaribi kusave kidogo, ndio aweze hata kufanya zile labda mitihani, labda ameambiwa rudie mitihani, ama anaweza kujipanga. You know, they arrange themselves for almost 3 months. Anajipanga 3 months na hiyo 22,000. Umekuja ukamwambia utakata capitation yake ya school. How do you expect them to be at having to be tribal? Na sasa hizo unamuumiza. Huyo Gen Z ameenda akamaliza shule. Now most of them are 27, si ndio? 25, 27, then going back to 18 years. Una expect aje huyo mtoto amemaliza shule, alafu ukienda kwa ofisi unasikia ati uko na godfather amekushika, ama tunatakaga mtu ameletwa na mtu hapa ndio. Hata si mambo na hata na serikali, unasikia mpaka wengine wameenda kuangalia kazi za walimu, wamesomea education, anaenda anaulizwa auwezi ingia kwa TSC, lazima ukuwe na mtu atakuonesha TSC vile utaingia. Brother, how do you expect that generation is feeling? Do you expect them to be continue singing ama Kikuyu ama Luo ama Luya ama Kalenjin? Can you expect them to be in that line of thought? If they see the way their parents struggled, wakaekwa uoga na serikali, alafu wao pia ati hiyo serikali au watu, kwa sababu unajua Ruto alikuwa anapigana na majenzi wa 1990s akina Orengo wao walikuwa wanajiita majenzi. That time they were the Gen Z. So Ruto alikuwa anawaua on the other hand. So how do you expect that these people wanaona hawa watu wamekuwa kitu lead for almost 25 years, others even 30 years, at they are the ones to come and tell us what we are going to do. So I think the determinant watatupea, let me tell you, watatupea a leader. Si nyinyi mtawapea. Unajua sisi tumekuwa tukisema tutawapea, brother. Sisi tutawapea leader, watatupea. And I'm telling you they are going to give us by the end of the run, watatupea leader mmoja. Nyinyi mshindani mkisema hapo Gachagua sijui Matiang'i sijui Madhakarua sijui nani. Ngojeni. Azitafika. You know we have not even 2026 and I'm telling you, you see in the by elections which are coming, we have by elections. I'm telling you, if you not see Gen Z's there, wakileta leaders all, I'll be shocked. But I'm telling you, will be too much MPs. Gen Z.
Let me ask you, is this IBC ready and prepared to actually have these by-elections and any possible recall of MPs and senators? Are they ready to actually undertake that responsibility?
Maybe they lie to us. They are not ready, brother. Because you know the problem is they have been having members. You know the members of IBC. Kuna wale watu wafutagwi kazi. So you know the commissioners are the only ones who wanaondolewa kazi. So it means kuna wale members. Even I saw it just the last year. Martha Koome aliwachukua oath, walichukua oath, the members of IBC. So they have been there. What are these members supposed to do? They're supposed to assist the commissioners in having a free and fair election. So don't come and tell us that hamko na time enough ya prepare for elections. The IBC has been open. Unaona ofisi zao zikifunga, brother. Ofisi zao hazifungagi kazi. They are always on toes. Wanafaa kuwa wakiangalia hiyo system now. So they don't come and tell us they're not ready for this.
No,
If that IBC came and tell us is not ready for this, let us know it's red flag.
Vitu kama tuseme the ballot papers, zile papers watu wananinio na hizo machines za kuvote. Okay, recall doesn't require that. Kurecall mtu recall inataka tu ma signature alafu wana verify hizo ma signature. But I'm talking about tuseme kama hizo by elections mtu akikufa. I mean there's different places where watu hawana representative. So ndio maana nauliza sijui kama wako na hiyo capacity, capability, hizo makaratasi na mashini za kupiga kura. Are they ready where they can actually take voting can take place? And hii story ya registration ya watu kuregister kuvote, is it that's basically what I know.
That is what you're asking me. So
yes.
In Kenya, if we want to do something, something is always done. Si unaona Kasarani, Kasarani imetengenezwa na siku ngapi? So walikuja kafi kaambia itafai kutengenezwa, haiko sawa. Walifanya hiyo kazi na how long? How they took almost only 1 month. So it means if we want to do something, hizo by election, the papers will be provided, you know. We remove taxes. Watu wa hizo constituencies, they remove taxes to the government. So the government is supposed to provide these papers, and the IBC, maybe now we see the government refuse to fund them. And the problem, you know what happens, brother? Unajua ni nini tuko na shida mingi ya kufikiria about IBC? Bunge imeshindwa na kazi yake. Bunge ndio inafaa kuja na hizo sheria. Si president anafaa kuja ati aseme zile pesa tutatumia na IBC. Bunge ndio inafaa ipitishe hizo pesa. Lakini sasa ikiwa imeshikwa mateka, brother, itafanya hizo decision aje? Ati wanaambiwa vile watafanya, ati lazima wachukue command kutoka hapo hapa Dennis Street Road, ati lazima wachukue orders kutoka hapo. That is the problem we have. But for me, I think for those ballot papers, if we want them even today, they will be produced by this week. That now kama huyu jamaa anaona kama atabwaga, unajua pia anaona kama atabwaga kwa hizi by elections anaweza anza kusema kukataa kuwapatia pesa, anaweza kukosa kuwafund vizuri. You know, that is how they kill. Today I was listening in the news, in the morning Citizen break. I was listening to how the institutions have been, you see, like NCIC. Why do you not hear them talking? But to come NCIC cohesion, because they were defunded. I was hearing one member Gadhoni wa Mushomba alikuwa anasema she was a chair of those institutions na zimenyimwa pesa kabisa. Even EACC wamezinyima pesa kabisa. So when they try to kunyima pesa for operations, even IBC is one of them. Wakikunyima pesa ya operations utafanya aje, brother? You just do things haphazardly, kwa sababu hata judiciary nimesikia ikilia. Tumekuwa tukisikia judiciary crying all throughout, we are underfunded, we are understaffed. So if Kasongo man is in that atashindwa kwa hizi by election atakosa kufund vizuri bwana. But kwani lazima tuende hiyo? Tunaweza enda hata Mlolongo, kwani lazima tuende hizo za kuvuta makaratasi? Tusimamishe Mlolongo, tusimamishe Gen Z, kila mtu afuate Gen Z.
Aya. Anyway, I have to end it here. It's been 1 hour 19 minutes. Thank you so much, Nani Kudeta Joseph Karioke aka. Asante sana. I have to leave it here because mpaka nishughulikie maisha kidogo. But thank you so much for being part of this, for your insight, always having a good perspective on politics. And everyone else, let me nisalimie watu huko WS Banka, Gypsy, Shi Mariam leo alikataa kuingia kutuonyesha sura yake. Yeah? Na nani mwingine? Wengineo, Labani pia nilimuona hapo, siku hizi amenyamaza sana. And everyone else who has been part of this. Again, if you're going to watch this on repeat, please make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment, and put the notification bell on. So every time I come in, you can always come in. Ulizanga link. Hapa unauliza link kabla hujapewa. Kama una kitu ya kusema na kuwekea link, unaingia na tunachambua maneno vile unaona Kudeta amechambua maneno hapa. But thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys probably tomorrow ama leo jioni, ama mtanipata kwa zile channel zingine nikiagi na watu ama namna gani. Shukran. I'll see you guys later. Peace and blessings.